Welcome to the Architecture Corner. Today, we're getting into a story that really made some serious waves in the tech world recently, caused quite a stir.
Yeah, it sparked a big debate about, the foundations of how we build software today. Picture this. Amazon Prime Video. Huge player, right?
Oh yeah, massive.
They announced they'd cut costs by, get this, 90%. A staggering number.
90%, that definitely catches your eye.
But here's the kicker. The way they did it. By moving away from a serverless architecture in some specific parts of their system.
In that news, I think it came out in an article around March 22nd. It set off a firestorm online.
Totally.
You immediately saw people jumping to these huge conclusions, like this was it, the final nail in the coffin for serverless.
Or even for cloud computing, some are saying, which is wow.
Right. The idea that serverless failed was suddenly everywhere. Just bang.
But and as we're going to unpack today, that's really missing the bigger picture, like missing the forest for the trees, kind of.
We're actually looking at a really insightful piece of writing that argues against taking these really absolute stances, black and white thinking. It's more a reminder that what looks like a failure on the surface is often actually a really valuable lesson in adaptability, in learning.
And that's where this article by Mario Bittencourt comes in. He brings some really needed perspective to the whole thing.
Yeah, a very thoughtful take.
Indeed. So our mission today, really, is to pull out those core principles, the stuff that really matters when you're making architectural decisions.
Principles that kind of stand the test of time, regardless of the specific tech.
Precisely. Doesn't matter if it's serverless this year or something else next year. It's all about context.
Yeah.
And understanding why a choice that made sense yesterday might need to change today.
Not because it was wrong, but because things evolved.
Exactly. Reality change.
Okay, so let's dig into that. The core argument, the big one against these absolutes, is, well, pretty simple, but also kind of profound. Context is king.
It really is. It's just so easy to sit on the sidelines and critique someone else's tech choices, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Without knowing their specific situation, their history, their constraints.
Right. And what's really fascinating here, and what the Amazon story highlights, is how much you learn from, real challenges and real traffic.
You mean, like, not just theory?
Not just drawing diagrams on a whiteboard. You can architect something perfectly on paper, but until it hits production, until it deals with actual users' unexpected load.
That's when you really work.
That's when you find the bottlenecks, the true costs, the quirks. It's a continuous feedback loop.
And that leads perfectly into the first big principle the article pulls out, continuous improvement.
Yes. This isn't just like a nice to have, it's fundamental.
Because your system and how you understand it, it's never static. It's always changing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a decision that was absolutely the best choice, maybe for speed to market or initial scaling, might not be the most cost-effective or performant decision a year later.
Like maybe with the Prime Video example, serverless was great to get that monitoring service up and running quickly.
Probably. It often is. Low overhead, scales automatically, great for certain phases. But maybe, as their traffic patterns became really predictable for that specific service.
The audio-video monitoring they mentioned.
Right. Maybe dedicated instances running constantly just turned out to be cheaper and maybe even offered more predictable latency for that specific high-volume critical task.
So it wasn't failure, it was optimization, evolution.
Evolution, that's the word. You learn, you adapt. You don't just stubbornly stick to your original plan because, well, you made it once. That's not good engineering.
Okay, this next principle, it really makes you pause and think about how we carve up our systems. It's called avoid the noun-based service. Sounds a bit abstract.
It does sound a bit academic, yeah, but it's super practical when you think about it.
So what's the trap here?
The trap is that we often just look at the nouns in our domain, user, product, order, and immediately think, that needs its own microservice.
Right, the user service, the product service. Seems logical.
It can seem logical initially. But just because something is a noun doesn't mean it's the best boundary for a service.
What happens if you follow that logic too far?
Well, you can end up with this explosion of tiny, tiny services. A user profile service, and user auth service, and user preferences service. And suddenly they're all talking to each other constantly.
Creating a distributed mess.
Exactly. Lots of network calls, complex dependencies, potential for cascading failures. All because you split things based on nouns instead of maybe something else.
So what's the alternative? What should you listening be thinking about instead?
The article suggests focusing more on responsibilities and cohesion. Ask yourself, what things change together?
Ah, okay. So if updating user preferences always requires checking authentication status, maybe those functionalities belong closer together.
Precisely. If they evolve in lockstep, if changing one almost always means touching the other, maybe they should be modules within a single, more cohesive service, rather than two separate services constantly chattering over the network.
Grouping based on logical change, not just database tables.
You got it. It's about designing for how the system will likely evolve and minimizing unnecessary distribution. Fewer moving parts where it makes sense. That often makes things easier to maintain, test, and understand.
Moving on, here's something that sometimes gets pushed aside until it's too late. Non-functional requirements also matter.
Oh, absolutely. This is a big one. We get so focused on the what features does it have? Does it do the thing?
Yeah, the functional stuff. Does the button work?
Right. And we forget about the how. How fast is it? How much does it cost to run? How secure is it? How reliable? These are the non-functional requirements, or NFRs.
And ignoring those can bite you hard.
Monumentally. You could build the most amazing feature set, but if it costs a fortune to operate, or if it falls over under load, or leaks user data, it's not much good, is it?
It can literally sink the project or even the business.
No question.
Now, the article mentions something interesting here to help with this. Architecture decision records, or ADRs. How do those fit in? How can they help you, the listener, keep these NFRs in mind?
ADRs are, well, they're basically short documents explaining why you made a significant architectural choice.
Like choosing serverless or choosing a specific database.
Exactly. And a good ADR doesn't just say what you chose, it explains the reasoning, the trade-offs considered, and crucially, how the choice impacts those non-functional aspects.
Ah, so you explicitly write down, we chose this because it improves performance, but we accept it might increase costs slightly, that kind of thing.
Precisely. It forces you to think about those trade-offs up front. Performance versus cost. Scalability versus complexity.
Yeah.
Security versus usability.
And it documents it so later on people know why a decision was made.
Right. It provides that context we talked about earlier.
Right.
It prevents you from blindly changing something later without understanding the original rationale, potentially reintroducing a problem you solved earlier. It keeps those crucial NFRs visible throughout the design process.
Okay, next principle. I like this one. Focus on principles. Not procedures, being pragmatic, not dogmatic.
Yes. This gets to the heart of thoughtful engineering.
It's about the why, not just the how.
Exactly. The author, Mario Bittencourt, calls it a capital sin to just blindly follow a procedure, like adopting microservices or serverless or whatever the latest trend is.
Just because everyone else is doing it.
Right. Without deeply understanding why you're doing it and whether that pattern or technology actually solves your specific problem in your specific context.
It's so easy to fall into that trap, though. You see a big company succeeding with something and you think we should do that too.
Of course. But maybe their scale is different, their team structure is different, their budget is different, their problems are different. Copying a procedure without understanding the underlying principle is risky.
So pragmatism over dogma means asking, does this really fit us? Does it solve our problem effectively? Or are we just following the herd?
It's critical thinking versus rote application. No tool is magic. No pattern is perfect for everything. Its value is totally dependent on the context. You need that solid foundation in architectural principles to make informed choices.
And that brings us to the last principle, which kind of wraps everything up. The show must go on. It feels like it's about ultimate adaptability.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It acknowledges that technologies and patterns, they just exist. They aren't inherently good or bad.
Serverless isn't bad. Monoliths aren't bad. Microservices aren't bad.
Exactly. Their value, their goodness, depends entirely on how you use them and whether they were the right tool for the job at that time, given your reality.
So the Amazon Prime Video team's initial serverless choice wasn't a mistake.
Probably not. It likely served a purpose, maybe speed or initial scalability. It was a valid choice then. But then their reality changed. Maybe scale increased massively, maybe cost became a huge driver, maybe they understood the problem domain better.
And so the optimal solution changed.
And they adapted. That's the key.
So this means you need to be constantly learning, right? Understanding the pros and cons of your tools.
Absolutely. And challenging your own assumptions. Being willing to say, you know what? Based on the new data, maybe our initial approach isn't the best fit anymore.
That takes some humility, doesn't it? To admit a past decision needs revisiting.
It does. But as the article points out, a wise person is willing to change their mind when the facts change. It's not about ego. It's about building the best system possible now.
It's about continuous growth, really, embracing that journey of learning in architecture.
Instead of just chasing trends or sticking rigidly to old decisions, keep the show running, keep improving, keep adapting.
So let's bring it back. For you listening, what's the real takeaway from this whole Amazon Prime Video saga?
It's not that serverless failed or that monoliths are back or any simple headline like that.
Right. It's a real-world case study of these core principles in action.
Exactly. It shows that decisions evolve. That context is absolutely critical. That pragmatism, choosing the right tool for your job right now, beats blindly following dogma every single time.
So it should empower you, right? To look past the hype.
Definitely. Critically evaluate the noise. Don't feel pressured by trends. Make informed choices based on your specific needs, your constraints, your context. Build systems that can adapt because change is inevitable.
So I guess the ultimate takeaway from today's Architecture Corner is just that. The huge value of understanding context and having the courage to adapt.
It's not about finding that one magic answer that fits every situation.
Because it probably doesn't exist.
It really doesn't. It's about cultivating that mindset of continuous learning, critical thinking, and applying principles thoughtfully.
Which leads to a good question for you to think about.
Yeah.
What architectural absolute truths are you holding on to?
Yeah, what assumptions might need re-examining in your own work based on new information or just the changing reality of your projects? Something to chew on.
All right, that's it for this Architecture Corner. We really hope you found this look into adaptability and critical thinking as interesting as we did.
Hope it sparked some thoughts.
For more information, maybe links to the articles we mentioned, definitely check the description for this discussion. And hey, don't forget to subscribe for free to the Architecture Corner newsletter. You can find it at architecturecorner.substack.com.
Keep learning.
We'll be back soon with another look at what really matters in the world of software architecture. Thanks for listening.